go. Hey, y'all. It's Tony from Ropes and Wings, and I'm here with the lovely Angelic Dody Jones.
Thanks,
And
Tony.
we're coming with you to you live today. And give me a second. I'm trying to set things up here. And so Dody, she was my course mate when we took Laura's course. Oh shit. It seems like it's been a long time ago, but it hasn't been really that long ago. Beginning of this year.
It was March.
Beginning of this year. So I actually did Dody's first session. So we have swapped sessions back and forth, and we're meeting together today, and we're just going to introduce Dody to you. Dody's from Quantum Healing for Your Soul. And go ahead, Dody. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and tell them more about yourself?
Yes, Quantum Healing for Your Soul. Thank you, Tony, for having me on here today, too. quantumhealingforyoursoul.com. And I have a brand new YouTube channel as well, Quantum Healing for Your Soul on YouTube. And so, yeah, we met in class with Miss Laura, the lovely Miss Laura. Love her energy. And I'm in Arkansas. New in Arkansas, from California, born and raised in California, moved to Arkansas just a little over a year ago. And so, yeah, here I am.
Perfect. And I have down in the description, if you guys want to book a session with Dody, down in the description is a link to her website and stuff, and she could share that as well if she wants to on the live part. But down in the description, if you just click that, it's there. And Dody, you were QHT before Soul Center Healing Hypnosis. Tell us about how you got there. How did you get into hypnosis?
Well, I started my awakening with this modality shortly after the election in November of 2020. I started following a lot of truthers, and one of them that I follow is Michael Jaco, and he started his own channel, and he was having guests on, and one guest was talking about past life regression. And so I was like, oh, what is that? And so I started researching it, and I wanted to have a session done myself. I was like so interested in it. And then I discovered, well, I can learn how to do this. It just seemed like something I wanted to do. I can't explain it. I just was called to do it, but it almost felt like I was pushed, like my guides were pushing me or something. It's the only way I can describe it. So I signed up and I took the level 1 course through Dolores Cannon's program. It was online. I did that. I signed up at the end of December because I had a special. And so I did it in January. And so I tried doing my husband and my son, and I didn't have any success getting them to go under because they're very left brain. And so she would say, if you take level 2, we'll teach you some tricks to get them to go under to have a past life journey. So I'm like researching. I couldn't afford to take a third level 2 because it was like super expensive. So
Yeah.
I did some research and I found Laura. And I just fell in love with what she was doing. And I loved her energy and her love and compassion when she's going through the entity release. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've got to do. And so I signed up for her course and met you. And so that's how I got here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And my first session that I did was on you. So that was fun. That was a little nerve-wracking, but it was fun.
And she did perfect, and she's asking for a redo.
I
don't know if I should let her do it. So I just had a lovely session by Laura because of helping her teach in the course, and we had some technical issues, so I actually had to be the class volunteer. So I had to do a session. It was a beautiful session. I got a lot released.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So,
yeah. Well, next time you need one, I'm here for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was amazing. It was a perfect session when you did it on me.
And you know what's so funny? You know what I just remembered, Tony? I did your session after you had Laura do you. Remember, you were the
right.
class
I was a class example.
example.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I followed in Laura's footsteps there as like some big shoes to fill.
But it was absolutely perfect and lovely.
Thank
So
you.
maybe one day here soon you'll get a
Yeah,
redo, but you don't
yeah,
need one. It was perfect. It was beautiful.
thank you.
But you have incorporated, let's tell me about your other modality that you incorporated into your sessions.
Yeah, well, actually, thanks to you, I found that Udemy, I think that how
Udemy.
you pronounce it, Udemy. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I went on there looking for additional tools to add to my tool belt or tool chest here, and I came across Angelic Healing, and so I took it. And it's just beautiful. Me coming from the Lyran Stargate, I'm had many incarnations on Lyra. I've discovered that really intrigued me when I found out that they were calling in the angels, from the Lyran Stargate. And so I took the course, and it's something that you would do in person. I mean, she, did all the demonstration with the person right there. And I'm like, I can incorporate this into the healing sessions that I do now. So at the end of the session, so I do the entity release, then we go on the past life journey, then we do the higher self questions, look for more entities, do some more healing, then I do the chakra rebuild and seal the aura, and then right after that I do this angelic healing, and it's just additional healing through the chakras. And I bring in angels. I'm actually in the room holding on to my gold crystal here as I'm bringing in golden light from the uh, Lyran angelic realm. And so I have the person, visualize all the gold light coming in and surrounding them. And then I turn, you turn to the north and you call in, I think it's Archangel Uriel is the angel from the north. And so I'm actually turning, facing the north. I'm facing the south as I bring in the angels, and I have them in the room with the client, and the feedback I'm getting is they are there and they can see the golden light, and I bring in this golden flame from each, from the north, from the south, from the east, and from the west, and it comes up from the floor to the ceiling over the top of them in their bed. And so they are enclosed in this flaming dome of golden angelic light, and then the angels are around them, and they just conduct some healing on them. They're bringing in, I'll tell you an example, they're bringing in divine gifts of grounding, light, creativity, balance of the mental plane, the element of fire, protection, faith, and strength. And I mean, it goes on. So all these different healing modalities and strengths that a person may need within their body, the angels are there under this dome of this flaming dome of golden angelic light. And then I bring in source light, and this golden light goes through their chakras and expands it all. It's just beautiful. If you can, as you're laying there and you're having all this take place, and you can just envision all of this light and the angels, and it's just beautiful. And then we end it there. So after that's over, and I thank the angels and send them on their way, I ask the higher self if there's any final messages, and then I get a silver line comes out of the feet back into the earth grid, and then I count them out, and that's the end. So it's beautiful. It doesn't take too long to add it. It's about an additional 10 minutes, I want to say. So the
Yeah.
session, it's not that much longer in the session. So I like it. It's a
It's
beautiful addition.
it absolutely sounds incredible. What are the clients saying about that after this session with that angel healing incorporated into it?
I've had a couple of people say, wow, that was amazing. One of them, another practitioner, she said as I'm saying goodbye to the angels, and because I look to the north and say thank you to Uriel, and to the south to Michael and whatnot, the angels were she could see them like high-fiving her. I'm just like, that was like so awesome. And then another practitioner I did one on, she said that when she was laying there, she could see some additional like dense energy just being washed away. And it was just like totally cleared off additional energies from her. So it's been very positive. I've got a lot of positive feedback on it.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's great.
Well, it's so cool though that you're incorporating that in. I guess I'm getting known for incorporating the tuning forks into mine sessions
Yeah,
as well. It makes it a lot more powerful, I guess. And we just each have our little niches and trainings that we've had throughout the lives, the years, the millennias, and we're bringing it into the sessions to help clear and do amazing healings on people,
yeah,
and basically help them to heal themselves.
yeah.
Because
You
we
know
could
what? Oh, go ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, no, no. You continue.
Well, I was going to say something else that I found out. I had my Akashic records read by the amazing Beck. She's got
Hmm.
to give her a shout out. I found out that I had many years as a Lyran, and I was a healer, and I healed traumatic children. I found that out. So that was just another thing with this angelic healing. I feel like it's a part of me.
Hmm.
And it's part of my home, where I came from. So that was another aspect of why I felt really drawn to add it.
Oh, that's perfect.
And
And
your
you
tuning forks are like so soothing and relaxing.
and so I got to do a training video on it. I got them that they're in digital format, so us playing them over Zoom now will be even better because it's
That'll be good.
the full sound.
Yeah.
When you said about the Lyrans, it just made me remember that that was one of your higher self questions
Hmm.
when I had a session, or when I was the practitioner on your session.
Yes.
That was about the Lyrans because you saw a
A
lion
face.
face,
Hmm.
and
I wanted to know what that was. Yeah.
and
And you want to hear something else that I found out that was like so cool? They are, I have two of them that are my guides. I have two light beings that are my guides, and they're Lyrans.
oh,
They're my
that's all.
guides. I know.
It's it's awesome. It's hard to wrap this little mind around the multi-dimensionality of each one of us, and it's absolutely incredible,
Yeah.
I think.
And how our paths cross in different lifetimes. Did I tell you about how our paths have crossed
No, I don't
before?
think I got that. Do we? No,
Yeah.
tell
Well,
tell me about this.
yeah. So I asked, if I have had a past life experience, or I can't remember how I posed the question, with anybody else in the SEHH community. And so Beck got that you and I had crossed paths. I was a little boy sitting on the side of a road, and you were either a warrior or a soldier coming through with the rest of your men. And I said, I want to be a soldier when I grow up. And you're like walking by, and it's like, oh my gosh, that is like so amazing. So we had crossed paths lifetimes ago.
Was that in our session? Because I think I've heard that story before, I think.
Yeah, I thought I had told you. No,
Maybe you told me.
it was during my Akashic reading. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and
incredible.
right, and I asked, what is the connection? Because I felt drawn to you and to Beck in class, and so I asked, is there a past connection between you and I, to Beck? And sure enough, I was a teacher. I've had many past lifetimes working with children, and I was a school teacher in a little small, like 10 student classroom, and she was one of my students.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's
Isn't that amazing?
that's awesome. Well, Heather Hink taught me under an oak tree when we were working at a mill somewhere.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
it was funny because we were all working at this grist mill or some kind of mill or whatever, and
Wow.
I was a young kid, and she would teach me how to read under the oak tree, and that was our connection. And
How cute.
so we've all shared many, many, many millennia lifetimes
Isn't it
together,
amazing?
and
Yeah. That is like so cool.
it's so hard to wrap the little brain up around that because it's just so many pieces, so many, it doesn't even make sense to these human brains at all.
I know. I know.
But it's like most of the people that are doing this, and most of the modalities and the people that we interact with and are coming together with now, you meet them and you talk to them, and it's like right away, I know them, from before.
I know. Isn't that
We've
weird?
worked together many, many times, so
Yep.
it's freaking.
You can feel that connection. It's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing.
So, and we talk about all these amazing stories and stuff that we get from the sessions,
Mhm.
and when when we post videos online and you have this client in the chair, they're given this amazing, it seems like this amazing, I thought it was supposed to play out like a movie in front of my face, because that's what it seems like, is because
Hmm.
this amazing just scene just playing out in front of them, and they're connected, and it's coming to them. It's what they need to see at that moment to help them on their path that they're on. But it can get kind of confusing
Hmm.
for people coming into this, or new clients. So
Right.
what do we tell new clients coming in that, they come in with this expectation or don't know if they can visualize or not? What can we tell new clients to help them out with that?
Yeah. Well, I try to explain it that we're going to quiet the left side of the brain, that's the thinking side of the brain, and use the right side of the brain, which is where the imagination is, and that's where our guides and our higher self communicates with us. And so it'll come in like a thought.
Hmm.
And so I say, just trust that first thought that comes in and just say whatever comes to your mind. And then you tell them you might get an image of something, you might see a color or a shape or some image, and it'll just be for a fraction of a second. But you got to trust that that thought coming in is what
Hmm.
you need to say, or what is happening in the past life journey. um, and I told you this before we went live, in a session of my own. I was kind of struggling a little bit about, am I really seeing this, or am I imagine, is it my own thought, or is it what I need to see or say?
Hmm.
And I see Kuan Yin sitting there, and she says, trust. So these messages will come in ways that you don't expect, and sometimes it's just a sense. You just have this, like an inner knowing.
Hmm.
It's really bizarre. It's hard to explain, but it's like an inner knowing. Like, for me, I'm laying there and I'm like not seeing anything. Everything's just really dark, but I sensed that, and I would get this um, thought came in that I was part of the earth, that I felt like I was dirt or in dirt. And I'm like, this is like really weird. And you think, oh, this is like really strange. But then you just have to, keep going with it. And then pretty soon I found out I was a tree. I was this little sapling that was growing up. So I started off with this as a seed, and then I, grew up into this tree. And so you just have to trust that inner knowing, and just not think about it, just allow the thought to come in.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the best way I can describe it.
And you visualize pretty much like I do. It's just that it's usually like that blurry vision, a like a blurry picture comes in, or
Hmm.
maybe not even a picture at all, and it just flows up from that inner knowing. It just
Yeah,
comes out, and the whole time your conscious mind's in the background going, nah, I wouldn't say that. That's fucking stupid.
I
But
know. I know.
so
And I've done that. And then after the session, I was like, and I told her, I go, you did a fantastic job. I said, I was really struggling. I explained why,
yeah.
what I was struggling with, not knowing, is that me thinking, and that's what I want to
Hmm.
see, because I had just received some information, from my Akashic reading. And so I was like, I wanted to see that. I wanted to see who my guide was, knowing that
Hmm.
she was a sister in a past life. And so is that what I want to see, or is that what I'm being shown? And so then, find out later that's what I was being shown, because that's what I wanted to see. So
Yeah.
it was
That's what
funny.
that's what you needed to see, is what
Mhm.
you're being shown.
Right.
And so and so, well, the other part of your little sapling story is that you got took off in a whirlwind of something in a
Yes.
forest that was getting cut down.
Yes. That was weird, how it ended,
Like you were
and
cut
that,
down.
yeah, and the whole message was the importance of being out in nature and to enjoy, the sun and the fresh air, and the wind coming by, and to feel it all, and just take it all into grounding. Basically, it was all about the importance of grounding.
Hmm.
And then yeah, some machinery comes in, and there was people, and they're cutting down other trees, and all of a sudden it was like it was just like just like a little quick little spiral thing. It was like, oh, everything's dark now. There was no more sky, no more other trees. It was just kind of weird. I didn't feel anything, but it
Yeah.
was just there's this little energetic little swirl.
And,
It's kind of bizarre.
it's crazy how that all that information comes in. And so as practitioners, we're basically kind of training, not training, we're helping people to remember how to reestablish that connection with our true self, which is
Yes.
that inner voice that we've been cut off from, that imagination that is the key. I mean, for me, imagination is basically memories of something that has happened to us,
Yeah.
something that we've seen. It's just memories coming back, is our imagination. Um, or something, and I 100% believe that. And that's why the imagination and that following that inner voice is cut off from people. That connection is severed.
Hmm.
We squash it. I'm guilty of it as a father. We severed that in our kids.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that, but they'd say they saw something or somebody, and I'm like,
Right.
no, that's just your imagination.
Yeah.
Go back,
That's happened to me.
go back to sleep.
Yep, that happened
It's
to me as a child, and that's why I shut it off. My
Mhm,
mom, she slapped me. I had some mediumship abilities when I was little, when I was like 4 years old, and I didn't know what it was. And I was talking to somebody and telepathically, and my mom called me to ask me a question, and I go out, and so I answer her in my mind,
mhm.
and she got mad because I didn't answer. She's like, "Answer my question." And I'm like, I am, right? And she was, and she started to get mad. She's like, answer my question. I'm like, I am answering your question, but in my mind, I'm doing it. Well, she gets up and she slapped me, and I just like broke me. And I cried, and I shut everything off at that point. And so now I'm like struggling really, really hard to get those abilities back. Um, but the intuition, it's coming. I've noticed that in sessions that I do, I'll intuitively check certain areas
Mhm,
and find things there. And a couple times it's there's more than one entity or AI or something in an area. Like one lady, I was working on her and removed might have been an earthbound, I can't remember, I have to pull her paperwork from her hip, from her, I think it was like her left hip. She had pain in her left hip, so we found an entity there, sent him off, and then went through, she removed other things, and then something said go back to that hip. I went back to that hip, and sure enough there was another one there.
mhm.
And then so she wakes up afterwards, she's like, wow, she goes, oh my gosh, she goes, my hip does not hurt anymore. So it was like so cool just to experience that. And I had it happen one of my last sessions that I did. um, he had things around his throat. I removed, I remember it was no, there was two entities around his throat. One person, one earthbound, he had been hung.
Mhm,
And so I'm like, okay, that explains why it's around the neck. And then the other one, it was a guy that he was shot while he was strangling a woman. And so he was there on my client with his hands around his neck, and he was kneeling on him. So that was interesting. But again, we went through, removed some stuff, and I was like, something said to go back to the throat.
mhm.
I'm starting to get that instinct, go back to the throat. And I went back to the throat. And sure enough, he had another earthbound spirit that we had to heal the scene. And I asked for healing on the lady who was strangling, and then asked her, okay, are you ready to go back to source now? And then we sent him on his way. Then after, what was really amazing about this, we're talking about sessions here. This one client, he immediately started seeing some green light come in.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, that's from Raphael. And then I'm like, well, let me just check. I said, does it feel good? And he said, yeah. I said, you must have needed some green energy healing today. And so Raphael just immediately started doing his thing without even asking the client what he needed. And that's another thing, is sometimes in a session, when you're going to after you release an entity, we replace it with a healing light energy, right?
Mhm.
I had a session where I picked a color that I wouldn't normally pick. My favorite colors are like pink and purple. Sometimes I ask for green from Raphael or some blue from Michael, but I picked yellow. And I was
Mm.
like, well, that's weird because that's not something I would normally pick, but I must have needed it.
Mhm.
Some sun energy or something, needed to be brought in. So it's amazing when you start listening to that intuition,
Mhm.
what comes from it. It's really incredible. So that things are starting to turn back on.
Mhm.
And I think it's all thanks to this, becoming more aware of it and more in tuned with everything.
getting rid of those blockages that we all have,
Right.
and and open up that communication that's been severed. Most kids it's severed at like 7 years old. Before that time, they're in a hypnotic state most times.
Right.
And so that's why there's so much trauma to kids as well too. They'll keep them from, to quit that, you know,
Right.
to sever that connection. And it's crazy. And then they carry all the emotional trauma from that the rest of their life, and they never ever establish that connection. But
Yep.
we're starting to get it done.
We
We're
are
make we're making that connection again.
one
and
person at a time.
and it's absolutely beautiful. And even with me, and I just had that session today with Laura, which Laura's the absolute master. I mean,
I know.
she flows, and it's
She's
beautiful. And
she's awesome.
I mean, every practitioner is amazing, but then when you get a session done by Laura, it's just she has to be. I mean, she made it up, so, or she didn't even make it up, but she started it, and she's amazing. But
Hmm.
as uh, practitioners doing this work, I never, I was I was attacked again. I mean, we've had so many sessions now, and we're chugging along, we're helping people, we're lifting things off. And I think it's important for us as practitioners, even every every few months, to go in and get a wellness check.
Right.
Let's get an update. Let's get anything that might have attached, because they're sending it to us.
They are.
They're trying to stop us. They're trying to stop us from speaking and getting more light in here, and helping with the ascension.
Hmm.
And that being said, with my session today, I thought I would have thought today that we wouldn't have had to remove that many things, but holy shit,
Yeah.
there was a lot that got on there. And a lot of it was because I had this beautiful flood of energy, and for most light warriors, that energy in July was pretty rough. I mean, we were getting some new energy, and it was hard to deal with, but I felt like
Yeah.
I was spinning out of control at times, and I couldn't get grounded. um and so we removed some pretty dark stuff. That was a lot of AI, a lot of
Yeah.
dark entities just today off of me. And what can we do, as light warriors, as anybody, um, that is starting to remember and starting to reclaim that connection? What can we do as far as protections to keep that from happening?
Yeah. Well, I wear a black tourmaline. I have a crystal one too, but the little thing, the holder broke on it, so I have to get a replacement. But yeah, just wearing some black tourmaline or onyx or obsidian, the black is really good for protection. Um, every morning and every night. And I tell this to my clients when I talk to them. You need to protect yourself every morning and every night because they also attack you in your dream state.
Hmm.
And so I asked Archangel Michael to place a pyramid. Well, I got the pyramid. I was used to do a bubble of protection. Now I got it from Heather. You got to do a pyramid. And today, as my son's driving off to college, I asked for a double pyramid Merkaba around my son as he's like headed back to college. So yeah, always will protect my son, even if he's flying. The plane is protected because I've got a pyramid all around everybody on that plane. That's funny. But so every morning you ask Archangel Michael to protect me and my home and all my pets. And I say that I do not consent to any negative energies anywhere near or around my home.
Hmm.
I have him go through and close and remove any portals that may be anywhere near around my home. I do not consent to them. I did find out from another practitioner, she was in a session with a woman and there was a portal in her son's room. And Archangel Michael said it could not be removed. It needed to be there because there were some high frequency energies that would come through that needed to come in for support or protection or something for this child. So
Hmm.
what he did is he placed a screen around this portal
Mm.
and it only allows high frequency energy to pass through. So now in my little spiel that I do every morning, I say, if there's a portal that cannot be removed, to place a high frequency screen over the portal, only allowing high frequency energy to pass through.
Mm.
And then with my internet connection, um, I've had a couple of sessions where we had with trouble. I call in Zadkiel and Metatron, and I have them stabilize my internet connection, and I ask Metatron to trace my internet connection all the way to the source. And I say I do not consent to any AI technology siphoning my internet connection. If there is any AI on my internet connection, to please remove it, transmute it, and send it out into the universe. So I have this little routine that I go through every single day just before I get started.
And it doesn't have to be difficult at all. And
No.
it can be your own.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what it is you do. It doesn't have to be something that somebody else does. Make it
Mm-mm.
your own.
Right.
And of course, with me, being the Viking looking dude, I'm always the warrior, putting on God's armor and surrounding myself with 6 bubbles of golden white light protection all
Yeah.
around me,
You
and
do what resonates with you.
making sure that I'm carrying my shield of truth or my shield of belief and my sword of truth and my
Right.
love bow. And um,
I've thought of that a few
have
times
you?
when driving down the road. You see some people are just getting a little antsy or whatnot, and so I think of you. I'm like, okay, I got to send them a little love arrow. And even people in the grocery store that they're walking through and they just seem a little grumpy, unhappy, or people that are still wearing the masks and stuff.
Mhm,
I'm like, I feel sorry for them. I'm like, how sad that they trust the people that are not telling the truth and are living in fear, and I feel sorry for those people, so I send them a little love.
mhm. Yep,
Oh,
the
and
love
I
bow.
think of you. I think of you every time. I got to send them that little love arrow.
Shooting love arrows everywhere. It makes a big difference. It's huge. I mean,
Well, yeah,
it's
it makes
incredible.
me feel better.
Yeah.
It's really strange. I'm sending love to somebody else, but it makes me feel better
Hmm.
in reverse. Yeah, it's amazing,
It's healing all the way around. It's good all the way around. Just sending
isn't
that
it?
love around.
Yeah.
And um, when we got confirmation today, like even in my session too, is that we're doing this work. We're trying to help and heal people, and there is things, AI, whatever else, waiting at the door, waiting for us to get low,
Hmm.
waiting for that fracture in our aura to get on in there. And the biggest protection is shining that internal sun as bright that they can't even stand in your presence. And that's how some of that stuff got on me though too, is because a low state, trying to find balance in a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And um and you just picked it up, fractures your oil, you just pick it up. But those confirmations today was exactly what was said, was they're waiting there
Hmm.
right at the door, because what we're doing is having so much benefit
Hmm.
that they're just waiting for the entry to make it in, and they do it.
Yeah.
And so then, even as us as practitioners, healers, and practicing any modality, it's good to go in and get a
Yeah.
physical upcheck.
Exactly.
we don't
Yeah.
we don't
And
need, we don't need doctors anymore.
no, no.
We need to freaking go in for an energetic overhaul and rebalance
Right.
every month or
Yeah.
two.
And we're only human. We'll have our moments where you might get like frustrated about something. And I try that, because I'm the only awake one in the house. And so, my husband will come in all frustrated or mad about something. He's got to, share it with me because, I'm his wife. So, of course the spouses got to speak to each other. And so I just sit there and just like
Hmm.
reaffirming my seal around my aura, and I just like, okay, and I'm just in my mind, I'm like talking to Archangel Michael, just protect me from this negativeness that's coming from him, and try and calm him down. I'm just That's what I do. Try to
Well,
stay positive.
it's hard to do, and we have to sit there and listen and put those shields around us all the time and keep
Yeah.
everyone protected. And Heather has that beautiful confirmation video on how just our thoughts are powerful, and just that visualization of a pyramid or something, whatever you want to do. Our thoughts are powerful. Whatever
Yeah.
we focus our intention in, we can change that, or we can ask that to assist us.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. But Heather did that video where it's actually confirmation that it actually works.
That it actually works. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
believe
So
that. Yeah. I totally
100%.
believe it. Yeah. Because there are times my husband's whole personality will just change. He will just totally calm down,
Hmm.
when he's like upset or frustrated about something. And I'll just say, it might, I can't even give an example, but he'll just be talking, some negative whatnot. And I'm like, I'm just not gonna, have a discussion of negative content and,
Yeah.
try and look for the positive in the situation. And that's what I do to, you know, turn things around, and it will just like take the wind out of his sails, and he'll calm right down, and everything's good. So I'm doing my best. I think that's why, there's so many of us that are the only awake person in the home. And I think that's our job, is to help balance the home. And then eventually, when the veil is lifted and they see the truth, then we're there to help them. I think that's why we're just so spread out the way we are all around the world,
Yeah.
really, is
Absolutely.
that's what our job is. Yeah, but we are being heavily attacked. So yeah, we have to go in for our energetic overhauls every month or two, just for a reboot, just for
Yeah.
clearing. I do that. I'll lay in bed and I'll just like go through, I'll start at my head. It's like, where do I have something? I have a session coming up. I was like, okay, I feel something right there. And I can tell what it is. Like I had a bar in my back. I was like, I know what that is.
Hmm.
And so I was able to, in a session to get it removed. But it's really quite amazing if you really just go within and just focus on what's going on in your body. You can find
Hmm.
where things are, and yeah, then then you'll know when it's time to have another session.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's always that that tick, that thing you just can't get off your back,
Hmm.
and I mean, even going into a session or any kind of session and reestablish that connection and rebalance, and then yeah, just the whole world opens up when that happens.
And you come to me and I give you an angelic healing, and you're just going to feel so good.
Absolutely. I want to try that. I want to feel that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it'll be amazing.
Well, your next free day a week from now, gotta give you a week break.
You think?
Yep.
It might
Well,
be.
it depends on how you feel. I mean, I'm surprised that you're not all like kind of woozy or something right now after just having come out of a session.
Well, that's probably the other thing about someone, new coming in and get a session. It just depends on the person or what's done. I mean, I feel like I got a full body workout. I really do. But
Hmm.
when I'm in session and you're completely conscious, I'm like I really, my hands were rigid, like I'm holding this high energetic ball the whole time I'm talking, and you just can't relax that
Mm.
until till the higher self recedes after all that. It's just kind of, but after removing all those entities, and the blockages, it might not necessarily be all entities,
Hmm.
emotional traumatic blockages,
Hmm.
whatever. Once you release that though, your body goes in, and it's just like you had a really good full body workout.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I feel energetic and stuff right now. The back pain that I was having is gone, and it's it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just
It really
different
is.
for different people.
It is. I've had feedback where, well, like one lady, she, sat up. She's like, "Oh my gosh, my hip doesn't hurt anymore." And then another one, I did another practitioner, and I checked on her the next day. It's like, "How you doing?" And she was just like wiped out. It took her days to recover, but she's loaded. But us light workers, we are heavily attacked. We're going to be loaded with stuff, and so some, when you're new to this modality of healing as a light worker, you've got some of them have a lot of stuff. Even I did one lady, oh, she was fantastic. She did some of the healing on her own. I have to tell the story. It was just incredible. Um, she she's a light worker but doesn't know it. And
Mm,
she works with troubled youth. And so she's, in that kind of realm already, right?
mhm,
And so she's been heavily attacked, had a lot of stuff on her. So we removed, she had like felt like a tree root in her torso. And so Archangel Michael removes that. And then she just had this like water energy just like gushing through her whole torso. I was like,
mhm.
where was it coming from? And so I asked her, I said, well, how do you need this removed? And she says, it needs to be vacuumed. So I had Archangel Michael just vacuum it. So I'm like learning on the fly, you know, on how to heal this lady. And so I had Michael just, you know, vacuum up all this water energy, and she says it's still trickling in, and she's like, where's it coming in at? And she was such a good visualizer. She could see all of these little tiny tree roots just coming up everywhere in her body, you know, from on the inside. And she, there was just trickling in from one of them. She says, give me a minute. I was like, okay. And so I gave her a few moments, and then she sits up and she went out of view of the camera. I was like, oh no, she's getting sick. She looked like she was getting sick. I was like, oh no, she's getting sick. And she lays back down. She's like, okay. She created a torch and torched them all up and then regurgitated them out and then put them on her nightstand beside her bed. So I had Metatron instinctively. I was like, Metatron, get that energy she just regurgitated out, transmute it, and sent it out into the universe. But afterward, I was like so proud of her. I'm like, see, you can do this all on your own. You know what to do. Just don't, once you remove the entities, don't leave them there. They can come back and reattack. You need just call in the angels. Metatron will take that AI, transmute it, and send it back out into the universe. So that was like an amazing healing session. And then she had a nasty negative, must have been an archon, did not want to communicate with me and didn't want to leave, and you know, went through the whole thing where, and I always say that you're safe and protected in Michael's net of light. So I just, you know, don't place the net of light around him. I you know, try and do it a very lovingly way, right? And I, you know, you're surrounded by angels, didn't want to communicate with me, and she was getting really anxious with this energy in there, and it wasn't wanting to communicate. So I brought in Yeshua, and as soon as I brought in Yeshua, everything calmed down. It started to dissolve. She says, it's getting smaller and smaller. It's dissolving. She goes, it's completely gone. It was just like that. We didn't have to do any removal. It just like literally dissipated. It was amazing. That was an amazing session. We just then brought in all the healing light, you know, and cleaned that whole area. But anyways, that was an experience.
It's amazing. I mean, that's what I said before, though, is this this heal yourself therapy. You know, we're helping ourselves, clients, to remember how we used to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is all on the client, the person
Yep.
that is receiving the healing, because you know, we're not magicians. We're just a 3D voice. We're just a guide in this 3D environment, taking you on a journey of your own internal landscape.
Yes.
And all the healing is on you, really.
Yeah.
We're just showing you how to do it again. And I want to thank everybody that's in the chat for joining us. And
But we have some people. I don't.
yeah, I have the chat up. I want to address Alice's question, because she said, I thought Laura's method seals you and nothing else can get in. So yeah, it does a great job. And just like, you know, it's heal yourself therapy. So if you are not doing that regular maintenance that you need, and just the example of me, though, is, you know, I got spun out of control for a while. It was a good thing, but I was spun out of control. I was having trouble with balance and getting in. And then, you know, the stuff is waiting there at the door for all of us light workers, or the people. They're just waiting there right outside, waiting for that crack in the armor to get in. And once you get that chink in the armor, you know, then it's there. And so, and then that's why it's good to have a checkup every now and then, and get rebalanced and get anything removed that might have got in. So I had a chink in my armor. We're human, things happen. We have highs and lows points, and at some point drop the protection and it snuck in.
Yes.
And they know that, and they are waiting for that little chink, and it doesn't have to be that big.
Yeah.
It just gets right on in.
They're everywhere. From what I understand from other truthers, the AI especially are everywhere. They are walking the streets, the sidewalks, the properties, they're everywhere, just trying to attach to people. And so, yeah, the protection is very important.
Well, and it's so crazy. I mean, even the thought of me being in this and doing it, it's so crazy that I'm even here doing this. and
Yeah.
and all this unseen stuff that we don't ever know about is just affecting us so much in this 3D world that we
Yeah,
just, it's crazy.
I know.
I had that back pain where I'm like, it's just from me sitting in this chair all the time doing sessions. And, then no, it's a dark energy. It was a big one. It got in a crack
Yep.
and it's there. We're human.
Yeah, well, I think any place that you've got a weakness in your body,
Mhm.
that's where they're going to come in. Like my one client that I did, she already had an entity in her left hip, and then this eh, eh, the day before our session, she's sitting at work, and this person walked by, and this entity saw her, came through the window, and right into that weakness into her hip. And she says, "I know exactly when that happened because I said, how long have you been there?" She said, "Just since yesterday." I was like, "Well, that was weird. That was like a first just since yesterday." And then she told me after a session, she remembered sitting there and a person walked by her window and she didn't look at them, but she felt this strange kind of just a sensation. It was just kind of bizarre. And that was
Mm.
that entity coming in. Just like you had shared a video where two guys are passing in a
Oh, yes.
mall and you can literally see an entity hop off of one and go into the other. And the reaction from the body when the entity left one and went into the other, it's just, and when she said that, and she felt like this weird sensation. I was like, "Oh, you had just shared that video." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so bizarre." But they do that. They'll hop off. They'll
Hmm.
see somebody's light or, a way in. It's like, "Ooh, look at that light. And I can get in right there."
Hmm.
And yeah, we have to constantly be aware of this negative energy that's walking amongst all of us.
And,
They're there. It's real.
and it's okay. The
Yeah.
light's more powerful.
Yep.
So it's all right. We can handle it. We can take it off and we just keep on going. Eventually we're going to raise, the vibration and frequency up so much that it won't ever be able to exist.
They won't exist anymore. Yeah. That
So
time is coming.
yeah, there's no worries about it at all or anything. Um, I I love these sessions because to me it's like a rescue mission. I'm
I love
going
it.
in, I'm going in and rescuing, fallen brothers and sisters that
Yes.
have just fallen into the darkness, forgot,
Hmm.
and we're just helping them out of the darkness. And
Right.
so, because at some point in our multi-dimensional reality, we played the dark role, we played the bad guy, I'm sure, and we
Probably.
and we probably got stuck. So, I mean, it's good to have that person in the darkness reach a hand down to you,
Yeah.
and we're helping so many. I mean, we have to be building a hell of an army on the other side anyway, ready
Right.
to come back in and help.
Yeah. Even the
So,
the lost souls, I for myself personally, I had a couple of earthbound spirits that were in my hip, and one was a little girl that died in the hospital where I happened to be when I had some surgery, and that's how she came in. She didn't know, these children. I feel so sorry for the children. They don't know where to go. And
mhm,
then one, it was an old man, and he was in the hospital, and he when asked, did you see the light? Well, he thought it was the like hospital light coming down. He didn't know. And I got a visual of him coming out, and he started to cry. He was just like he was going home. He was so happy. And I could see him like reaching up to be pulled out by the angels. That was like so incredible to see that. That was it just made me feel so good to actually see that. It was amazing.
it's hard not to cry or laugh sometimes during sessions, for
Yeah.
sure, because it's releasing all those emotional. It's incredible. It's even hard to even put in words
Yeah.
the
You
feeling
know,
and sensation of it.
another thing, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but when you did my session on me the first time, um, I had an entity, and you said Archangel Michael has a message for you. What is it?
Hmm.
And I don't remember what the words was like take my hand or something. I could literally see his hand come
Hmm.
in. So it was like, that picture of Jesus reaching his hand through the water. It
Hmm.
was like that. So it was like really kind of dark and kind of like a veil. But I could tell there was a figure there. And then all of a sudden I see this hand come in and it said, "Take my hand."
Hmm.
And that was like so powerful. It was just like amazing. So cool.
It's and those, I go back to we talk about all this crazy stuff that we see and stuff, and it's hard for someone that's just new into it to even grasp the concept of that, and how we're getting those messages. And it's hard to explain how that all works.
Yeah.
You need to
I
schedule it.
yeah, I think when when you're in a session and you quiet the left brain and you allow those thoughts to come in, and the more you trust that thought, that first thought that comes in. So
Mhm,
whatever our question is, that first thought that comes in, the more you do that, the stronger that connection gets and the easier the session becomes. That's
mhm.
what I've discovered.
Oh yes. And you know and we always say this all the time: if you feel like you're making it up, just make it up.
Yeah.
And because that's what your conscious mind does to you. You're
That
you're making that up.
it's
And
your imagination side, and that's what we're working with. So yeah,
right.
you're going to think like it's just your imagination, but that is how your guides and your higher self communicates with you, is through that thought that comes in.
Hmm.
And I do that all the time. I'll be, cleaning house or whatnot, and I'll have a random question come into my mind, and then all of a sudden I get the answer. Like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
that was my higher self or my guides giving me the answer to my question that I just asked. It's
Hmm.
pretty amazing. But yeah, you have to learn to trust that thought, that that is them communicating with you. And that's when people channel higher beings, that's it comes in as a thought
Hmm.
in their
Yeah.
right brain. So you just have to trust that that's what it is. And there's that word again, trust.
Trust. Trust.
I've received that
Like
message many times.
I think we all have the importance of grounding and trust, and making and reestablishing that connection. um
And meditation, that's another
and
one that I get all the time. The
meditation.
importance of meditation. Yeah.
And it doesn't really, even meditation doesn't even have to be that. They try to make meditation out to be difficult.
Right.
Meditation is not that difficult. It's just basically sitting there and being. It doesn't matter what you do. I
It
mean,
could
it
be
does.
while you're walking,
Hmm.
while you're gardening, while you're doing dishes, folding laundry. Just let your mind go. And that's let that imagination go to work.
Hmm.
That's really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And shoot, I meditate best in the lazy boy. I end up falling asleep though, but that's still meditation.
Yeah.
And it's how we reestablish that connection. And I think, like meditation and all that stuff and grounding, like I never heard about grounding for until just 2 years ago maybe, and how important that was. And they make it confusing for a reason. They know before we know what we're going to be doing.
Yeah. You're so right. Yeah.
And so, we come back into this, and we have to remember, but they know what's going to happen beforehand. They know who to target. They know who, and they want to put that confusion out and make it so difficult for us to establish that connection again. And it's not. It's so simple.
Right.
Sitting in nature, walking barefoot, hugging a tree. They just make that connection. And um, we it's hard, and especially for me as a dude. I mean, there's not a lot of dudes out there that feel from the heart space,
Yeah.
but that is so powerful, feeling from the heart space and that connection. I mean, I'll still kick your ass if I'd have to. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Just because I'm all love and light doesn't mean I won't take care of business if I have to as well. But
Exactly.
it's just a different approach. So, but all that confusion. Well, there we went into another confusion, about masculinity and femininity, and trying to make that division. And we're all perfect and divine, and it's beautiful. And just reestablishing that connection. I got confused there. I think I went around the barn a little bit now. What were we talking about? We were talking about reestablishing that connection, and how we establish. I know what it was. And so we were constantly fighting with the conscious mind in a session.
Hmm.
And and when we say, if you ever feel like you're making it up, just make it up. And it all comes back together then once you listen back to that video, and it all makes perfect sense.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to say, and I went around the barn a few times with that.
That's
But
okay. I do that too. get off. It's like, what was I talking about? What was the point of this?
Yeah, well, the mind's or it's going too fast, faster than I
Sometimes,
can
yeah,
speak.
sometimes my mind is going faster than my mouth can work. Yeah. And I'll combine words and make up my own words. It's funny.
Speaking light language is what it was. Well, see, and you got messages, and I think we all got messages. We all every session, I think there's a message about grounding and meditation and reconnecting again with crystals, nature, and all that stuff. And and you got messages, from Kuan Yin about trust.
Hmm.
She was right there in a vision saying trust when you were having
Yep.
difficulty. And then you actually also had, was it in a session that you saw the fish jumping, or was it a remote healing?
That was a distant healing session. Yeah. Where the do we already talk about that? The how part of my
No, I don't.
journey of getting into this? Yeah. So my push to get started with the quantum healing for your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to class together, and you just jumped off the cliff with both feet, said, hello world, here I am.
Mhm.
And so I had done a couple of practice sessions. You were going at high speed and I was going at a turtle pace. And then I had a distant healing session done, and the gal saw a fish jumping out of water,
Mhm.
and she's like, okay, she is trying to get clarification, is what is this, like jumping out of the comfort zone? And Archangel Michael said, yes, this is a message for her. She needs to jump out of her comfort zone.
Mhm.
And so that was my message. And I think I even messaged you, and okay, I took that as a sign. I'm ready to go. So here I am, world. Jumped out of my comfort zone.
And, and it applies to everybody though. I mean, I think that's everybody that's even drawn to our videos and this kind of work, or even healing themselves and helping others too, is that message rings so true, is we need to be able to jump. And what I got from my first session that I had was, jump off the cliff and get in the flow and just go. Don't worry
Hmm.
about where it takes you, just go. And so it's just so important just to, just fall back into that flow, that connection again to the source, like it's always supposed to be. And it's incredible. In my session today, and it was hard to even imagine that I was a Sasquatch, a female Sasquatch in the past life. And it was, they were at a meeting, and it was all about, they were excited. They were having a meeting about, how the frequency of Earth is raising again, and the soon the humans, they'll be able to interact with the humans again, because we'll have raised our frequency high enough to interact with them again like it used to be.
Right.
um, and so I'm just waiting for that really soon.
So it must have
Really.
been a parallel life.
It was a parallel life, because it was
Yeah.
it was like happening in the now moment.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
And it's hard to wrap that little brain around it, but it was an amazing session. I can't wait to watch it back on a video to see what actually I said, because there is some things that I forgot about already. I mean, it's like waking up out of a dream. You
Yeah.
you forget some of it. That's why it's so important to listen to that video back again
Right.
and get that. So
Yeah.
um so tell us. Oh, I was going to talk about this. I always seem to get put in situations where I'm rescuing a whole. I have to turn a whole thing. A whole One client I had, she was past life or parallel life. She ended up on a spaceship, and it was a bad spaceship.
Oh no.
And the ETs, they were trying to get something from Earth. They were waiting for her to wake up for the whole um, wake up and give them information on what they need to do to stop the light from coming in, because then they couldn't get what they needed. And I'm like,
How incredible.
holy shit, how am I going to handle this? So it just flows. And then we ended up turning the whole ship, and we turned it for good. And
Wow.
everybody was on board with it and good to go, because they were tired of doing it anyway.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it freaking all worked out great.
That's awesome. So this is her past life journey that
Yeah.
she was, so it was a parallel life, and then
Parallel life.
you turned it good
Mhm.
midstream.
Yeah.
because everything's parallel and happening simultaneously. There is no past. It's all happening at the same time, which is like such a trip. That is such an amazing story.
It's
I love
it's
it.
I mean, every session is different, crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many things out there. The message is always the same usually, but they're also different, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's fun. I love this. I love this work. I love
mm,
being a healer. I've been a healer for many, many incarnations, so this is what I'm supposed to do. I love it.
and we've come together many times, and we're coming back together now, and it's incredible. And I we've been an hour, and
Have we really already? Wow.
I hear a significant thunderstorm in the background, and we probably ought to end it just in case.
Okay.
Um, so let's do that. Unless do you have what? Tell people again where they can find you.
Yes, quantumhealingforyoursoul.com. My email is quantumhealingforyoursoul@gmail.com. And yeah, come see me.
Perfect.
I'm
And
I'm open for business.
that's that's awesome. And Dody is absolutely angelic too, and she was incredible because I had
Thank
a
you,
session
Tony.
by her, and she's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you,
Everybody's
Tony.
amazing. Everybody's beautiful.
And so are you.
And everybody has their little twists and niches that they put on a session and to help for more powerful healings.
Yeah.
And Dodie has her angelic healing that she incorporated into the sessions, which is beautiful and
Yep.
sounds incredible. And so it was perfect. Beautiful. I
Yep.
want to thank everybody that joined us today. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at typing and paying attention to the chat, or else I get confused, and that's probably why I end up talking around the barn. So, but I thank everybody for joining us today,
Yes, thank you.
and hopefully we answered your questions that you have. And I'll have Dodie's information down in the description, so click on to find her on her website. Also, Laura's stuff if you want to schedule a class. And I'm going to end it because the lights are flickering.
Okay.
I love you all. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Ended.